Ukraine, where local Russian-backed authorities in the Zaporozhye region say there's been a terror attack in the city of Berdyansk. The local supervisor has been heavily wounded and is now in hospital. Now, these are the latest unverified amateur pictures we have from the region. You can see plumes of smoke in the distance. Authorities say the supervisor's car exploded in front of an administrative building. There are no details of any other casualties at this point. And meanwhile, Kiev's forces have once again shelled the city of Endangered, close to the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. That's according to Russian-backed local authorities. The city suffered an electricity blackout for almost an hour as a result of the shelling. Ukraine's army also targeted the nuclear power plant. Russia's defense ministry says 3 buildings at the site were hit during the bombardment. Shelling has continued despite the presence of 2 IAEA observers at the site. Well, to discuss this and more, I'm happy to say I'm joined live in the studio by Finnish journalist Janusz Putkonen. Thank you very much for coming in. It's lovely to see you again. What do you make of the latest attacks in Ukrainian cities under Russian control? Local authorities say it's terrorism authorized by Kiev. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, certainly we are not talking about any armored targets. And this is not certainly the first time then the administrations of Donbass and like, let's say, Russian sectors are targeted like with the terror tactics. We lost the head of Donetsk People's Republic in such a terrorist attack a few years ago, and we just had an anniversary for that, and we all remembered Alexander Zaharchenko, and they use terror tactics to keep people out from cooperating with let's say, local authorities and Donbass authorities and Russian authorities.
Ukraine says that all the local officials who've sided with Russia are basically collaborators. What do you make of that?
They are living in their own home cities. They are people who have their houses and families and roots in the Russian world. And, of course, they are collaborating with their brothers. To say that far away that what you are allowed to do at your home and in your home city is already a state terrorism, because, of course, the people have to have a right to choose in which side they are standing for. And these people have decided to stand for Russian and their roots and for their culture. And I think that they have all right to do that, and nobody can condemn that from abroad.
As we know, the IAEA delegation, they're expected to present their report on the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant at the UN Security Council based on their observations during their time there. What do you think their conclusions will be?
No, we all know the truth. We all know who have been shelling it for extended period of time, and finally we get some observers there. And I think that every sensible person in the world would understand that you should not shell a nuclear station in whatsoever conditions. And the Ukrainian shelling is, of course, visible on the ground. And that's why the Kiev regime is very afraid that these reports will be undeniable. And what I think will happen is that we will see a huge international political pressure put on IAEA, and will we see something of its kind like what happened against the Amnesty and others who have been trying to voice the truth. We will see. OSCE was a victim from the beginning for huge pressure, and the IAEA have to take their stance now, because you cannot deny the fact that who is shelling who, and they know for sure that Ukrainians are doing that.
It will be very interesting to see what conclusions they present to the Council and how they will be accepted, or whether they will be accepted by the Council.
This can be a trigger for a very huge process of will IAEA survive from this process? We all will see, but certainly this will be a top issue, because, like I say, every sensible person will understand that you cannot shell a nuclear station. And if you do it, you do a huge crime, not against your country or the people of the area, but the whole world. And there are some lines you cannot break. And I'm sure that Ukraine will have to pay a heavy price from shelling the nuclear stations.
But what's almost bizarre in a way is that while the IAEA inspectors were there, and even now when we still have 2 observers there, the shelling has continued. Why do you think that is?
It's just the insanity. You know that the Kiev forces have separated to two lines. I'm sure that the forces which are standing in the side of Ukrainian defense ministry, like Ukrainian troops, doesn't do it. But there are these elements, these extremist elements, who get their orders from very different headquarters, who are from these oligarch-funded battalions, and they don't care. Their work is to continue the war, to keep the war going, exactly and every provocation what they have in their hands. And that's why the Donbass cities have been shelled for years and years, and provocation have come like a daily basis, because their work is to provoke. And I think the Ukrainian government doesn't have a control whatsoever to these mercenary groups, which are the nationalist battalions.